Cyberpunk 2077 is one of the most anticipated games of 2020. But did you know that it isn't the first Cyberpunk game? It actually started out as a pen and paper tabletop role-playing game written by Mike Pondsmith. The first title, Cyberpunk 2013, was released in 1980, and because the game has been around for about 40 years, it has a pretty lengthy lore, and could probably fill several overpriced college textbooks you'll never actually use. And let's face it, you don't have the time to read the lore, so luckily for you, we've picked out the most interesting tidbits. I'm Elijah, this is the Icon, and this is the Cyberpunk 2077 lore you need to know before launch. And before we get started, guys, I'm being held hostage in a tiny room, and they said they won't let me go unless I get more subscribers, so please hit subscribe.
Number 10.
The Collapse. Cyberpunk's history is nearly identical to our own history until you get to the 90s, and things start to get, shall we say, a little crazy. One of the biggest moments that sets the stage for future events is the Collapse. In Cyberpunk's timeline by 2020, the US has one of the highest levels of income inequality in the world, with 90% of the wealth controlled by 10% of the population. Over 65% of the population lives in squalid misery, and another 25 to 50,000 were disenfranchised homeless nomads, or they were boosters, wandering Central America. This could be traced back to the crash of '94, where America's entire economic, social, and political structure breaks down. Imagine the Great Depression, but 100 times worse. The following period would be known as the Collapse. The stock markets have crashed, most cities' governments have declared bankruptcy, 1 in 4 Americans are homeless, and the country is overrun by violence and corruption.
Number 9.
The Gang of Four. The Gang of Four is a massive organization dedicated to taking over America. They were comprised of the NSA, CIA, FBI, and DEA. They were responsible for the first war with Central America, the Collapse, and the assassination of then President and Vice President in '96. Eventually, the Gang of Four would be found out and began to crumble under new reforms until they were stopped completely by the Army in 2004. Let's just hope the real FBI, CIA, NSA, and DEA don't get any ideas.
Number 8.
Corporate Wars. The corporate wars were mega corporations realizing that using wholesale military-style warfare against one another was actually a viable business practice. Due to the chaos that came with the Collapse, the United States had to rely on mega corporations to survive. This allows those corporations to operate without any oversight. 4 corporate wars occur in Cyberpunk's history. Each war becomes less and less subtle until the 4th war is completely out in the open with various countries getting involved. It was kinda like if Apple, Amazon, Facebook, and Tesla started hiring mercenaries to kill their competition. Actually, I take that back. I don't want to give Mark Zuckerberg any ideas.
Number 7.
Nomads. Nomads were once corporate wage slaves who got fired and then banned from any sort of gainful employment. So now they travel in groups along the highways. Like the name suggests, they are nomadic people who roam highways in giant caravans or motor vehicles. Basically, just imagine Mad Max and you'll have a pretty good idea what a nomad is. They travel the freeways looking for supplies or odd jobs, anything that they can do to sustain their large groups. Eventually, all the different nomad clans would join together and some of them would move to Night City, where they would pool their resources and invest in rebuilding the city and eventually end up controlling all means of transportation in or out.
Number 6.
Unification War. Due to the collapse, a few US states seceded and allied themselves to become the Free States, while what remained of the US became the new United States, or the NUSA. The NUSA, backed by nationalized Militech forces, declares war on the Free States, which include Colorado, New Mexico, Wyoming, Montana, Arizona, Nevada, and North Carolina, while Washington, Oregon, and Idaho remain neutral in the conflict at the price of making some concessions to the federal government. Eventually, the war would end after the NUSA and the Free States signed a treaty known as the Treaty of Unification. The treaty stated that the states would remain autonomous, but would have to end all fighting amongst themselves, and would have to participate in the new federal government. Neither side were particularly happy with the treaty, but thought it was a better option than causing another global crisis.
Number 5.
Booster gangs. Booster gangs are cybernetically enhanced bands of street gangs that are extremely territorial. It's dangerous to live in the city, especially if you live in one of the combat zones, an area of the city that even police are afraid to go to. So the people that live there formed or joined gangs as a way to stay alive. Booster gangs specifically are gangs whose members enhance themselves with cybernetics. Because many of them suffer from a condition known as cyberpsychosis, booster gangs tend to be the most violent and dangerous gang in Cyberpunk's universe.
Number 4.
Netrunner. Ever seen Ghost in the Shell? Ever see that part with all the identical women hooked up to computers? Netrunners are basically that, but for cyberpunk. Netrunners are elite hackers who have a direct mental link to computers by using a brain-to-computer interface. By using their mental link, Netrunners can enter the net, which is like if our internet and the Matrix had a baby. Although anyone can enter the net, most of them can't use the menu, which are applications and programs that Netrunners use to interface with the network. So it's like how everyone can use a computer, but as soon as this thing pops up, people freak out.
Number 3.
Arasa Corp. The Arasa Corporation is a worldwide megacorporation dealing in so-called corporate security, banking, and manufacturing. They're one of the main corporations that basically rule the world. This is mainly due to the fact that they have the largest and most powerful armed forces, a force so formidable that they basically single-handedly ended the Unification War by just being present.
Number 2.
Cyberpsychosis. So you know the singularity where computers basically become self-aware? Imagine that, but the exact opposite of that. Cyberpsychosis is a condition that occurs in people with cybernetic enhancements. Because of these enhancements, the people start to lose all sense of self and they start to become extremely violent. Replacing a few limbs isn't a problem, but if you go overboard and replace all your limbs and your eyes, you'll start the gradual process of becoming a cyberpsycho, a person who has completely succumbed to cyberpsychosis. There's no cure, and though there is treatment, people are never really the same after having cyberpsychosis.
Number 1.
Night City.
Nestled in the free state of California, you'll find Night City, named after its founder, Richard Knight. In 2077, Night City was voted worst place to live in America. Originally founded in 1994 under the name Coronado City, the city was eventually renamed after Richard Knight when he was found assassinated in his own apartment building. Since then, Night City has been completely taken over by the Arasa Corporation. During the Unification Wars, Arasa Corp stepped in and kept Night City from being directly involved. The treaty rededicated Night City as an international independent city-state, free of the governance of Northern California, or the NUSA. However, the new freedoms allow further increase of the megacorporation's rule. The city has suburbs, an active combat zone, cyber psychos, and roaming booster gangs, and it will be all yours on December 10th when Cyberpunk 2077 releases.
Hey guys, despite how that video ended, this was not actually sponsored by CD Projekt Red or Cyberpunk or anybody, so please hit the subscribe button and like the video and share it and give it to everybody because it will help me sell out